What's going on, Bill?
All things are good, as the great Clint Eastwood would say. I had nothing better to do.
You had nothing better to do.
Thought I'd do this.
Well, hey.
Look, here's what's important to know. Now,
Okay.
I know you keep an agenda, and that's a good thing. But here's what
I have to with you.
But we're visual. There's a visual going on here. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, I am adorned in the pirate regalia, and this is an authentic shirt given to me by the great Willie Stargell, and I wear it proudly on occasion. But what this is representing today is this is done. Did you see the pirate thing, Kev? This is done. They won one game in the last 6. They're done after the All-Star break. They're done. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a Steeler hat. It's getting ready to be Steeler time in 8 days, right here, right now. And nobody's going to care about the Pirates after next week.
Bill, is you don't listen to me.
Well, I try not to.
I told you back in March and April.
But you was guessing.
Forget the Pirates.
But you were guessing
when you said
that.
The Pirates won't do anything.
You were guessing.
The Pirates will continue to use their fool's gold and try to get people excited for nothing.
Well, I'm on your side of the fence now, because I'm about to put this in the closet.
It took some time.
Well, two things have happened. Last year at this time, they won 5 games going into the All-Star game and won 6 coming out of the All-Star game. This turnaround, now you might have thought coming out of the All-Star game, 2 things would happen. Bell would be stronger, hitting them longer. That ain't happened. He's like 1 for 22, and the Pirates are 1 game out of 6 games. They're about done. When the Steelers take the training field, it's a whole different thing, man. All them folks be transferring their gear over. So I'm just letting them.
Yeah.
It's done.
Well, why don't you introduce our guest for us?
Man, look. First of all, Miss Mariam's here, and she's the boss. So just everybody know, but she ain't gonna say nothing. But Kevin Freight Train Parker joins us here in studio today, and we could talk about Kevin till the cows come home, but most importantly, Kevin Freight Train Parker, Olympic gold medalist, at one point in his career, the fastest man in the world, with a little caveat, just so happens he's blind, but Lord knows that didn't stop him. We'll talk about that and some other stuff with KP, but he's really here today not to talk about his great track career, but he was almost a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Okay.
And if you look at him now, Kev, looks like he can still get it on at training camp if he wanted to. But I'm proud to say I've known him since he was 12 years old. He's one of the, now, him and Reggie Dukes go back and forth as to who the youngest guy to ever play in the Connie Hawkins Summer Basketball League was. Kev says it was him. Reggie Dukes heard me say that and corrected me and said it was him. He's one of 2 of the youngest guys ever played.
If you would have kept better records, you would know.
Yeah, well, if my uncle shaved his legs, he'd be my aunt. So if don't really carry a lot of weight around. Let me say that again, Keith. If my uncle shaved his legs, he'd be my aunt. You got to take that home with you and dice it up with some relish and onions. That's a whole Southern saying. See, that's before your time, girlfriend. Kiki, give me the stink eye on that. But Kev, welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you here. And like I said, Kev was balling in the Connie Hawkins League at the young age of 16. We couldn't hold him back and was holding his own. Some of the greatest of all time. Speaking of which, I got to get it out before you start talking, Kev, so I don't forget. Yesterday was the birthday of Connie Hawkins. The late, great Connie Hawkins, born July 17th, 1942. Would have celebrated a birthday yesterday if he were still with us. So I just wanted to echo that out there, man, because Connie Hawkins, well, let me just put it this way. I owe him everything. My entire professional career is based on what Connie Hawkins did for me. So just want to shout out to the Hawk. But Kev, welcome to the show, brother. Glad to have you here.
Hey, welcome to be here, man. How you doing?
Doing well. How you doing is the question.
Well, I'm a little tired, but I thank God I'm still here.
Stay close to this microphone.
Thank God I'm still here, man. Just having fun and dealing with the youth camp now, with the Summer Dreamers in Kappa, and that's what I do with the board education.
Well, now be more specific about that, because you said it. And give me exactly what is that, and then what do you do?
Well, what we do, we have the youth, it's like 6th to 8th graders, and what we have is a summer camp. We have it every year. This is my second year. And what we do is we have academics in the beginning and activities in the afternoon after they eat, and there's like a variety of vendors that come. And what we do is we have the kids go outdoors and stay inside, but this year we're in Kappa, downtown at Kappa. So we are gonna be indoors. And it's something that we do for like 4 weeks out of the summer Dreamers Camp.
Cool. Well, Kev, I'm gonna throw it back to you, and then we'll come back to Kev after you get some of your stuff out the way.
Okay.
And,
so
because we got a couple details.
we're gonna have to specify these names too: Kevin Parker and Kevin Cameron.
Well, we'll go old Kev to you, and then young Kev.
We can use last names.
No, I'm just saying, man.
Let's not try to make things more difficult and everything, more especially with the little jab.
No, that wasn't meant to be a jab.
Yeah, okay.
You're older than him, so you would be old Kev, young Kev.
I'm not sure about that.
All right, go ahead.
Just be ready for camp, man. That's all.
Just be ready for camp.
Yes, sir.
All right, thinking about camp, let's talk NFL. It is camp time. So Wednesday was the first day of training camp for 4 organizations: Denver, Baltimore, Arizona, and Seattle. Now, Denver is in camp because they have the Hall of Fame game versus Atlanta on August 1st. I'm not sure if anyone is actually looking forward to a Hall of Fame game or a preseason game, but the big thing here is football is back. So we have a number of teams that will be in camp this week. And then we need to talk about our team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, being in camp next week. And Bill, you can go ahead and, pick it up from there, and let's talk about, what we should expect from a camp perspective.
Well, I think the thing that we want to do here, it's, Kev and I have known each other a long time, and we joke back and forth, but I want to give him the opportunity to do what I oftentimes do. But Kev, to whatever degree you want, please describe to our listening audience, for those who may not know you, and that's got to be a few people, not many, I'm sure, but to whatever degree you want as to what happened to cause you to lose your sight. And then I'll go from there in terms of giving people a real sense of how accomplished you are.
Well, November 15th, 1992 is when I was in a fatal shooting incident that happened downtown Pittsburgh around 8:30 p.m. on Forbes and Cherryway. Car pulled up on the right side of me and shot my car 19 times, and I took 7 bullets. Instantly, I was blinded because I shot in my right side of my temple, came out my left eye, my right pectoral, my chest, my arm, my shoulder. And then I was at Mercy Hospital, and they told me I was supposed to have been dead, paralyzed on the whole right side, but unfortunately, I survived through it. And Tony Lynn Brackenridge passed away. She was the female in the passenger seat, and Stephanie Owens was in the back seat of my car. And that changed my whole life as of 26 years ago.
And of course, you did nothing to encourage that shooting. It was the person who did it just had an attitude about kind of a driving mishap, if you will.
I don't know, there was no mishap. It was just senseless downtown shooting, to where as though I didn't even expect this, didn't even want it to happen, but it happened, and I'm still here today to talk about it.
Well, and the good Lord had great intentions for you, brother, to take that many shots, and all that was suggested of you that would or would not happen, and you rose above it. And I said, if memory serves me right, in less than 2 years, you went into immediate training. You did not take any steps backwards. You moved forward, and all your forward steps amounted into you becoming the fastest blind man in the world. Is that right?
Yeah, it was great. I had to do something because I was barking on a football career before this. But after that was cut short. But I still wanted to compete and do anything. Whether I was blind, crippled, or crazy, I was still going to go out there and compete in something. Miss Eileen Bender at the Guild of Pittsburgh Blind, she told me, she said, we're going to fly you to Colorado, and you can be on the track and field team for the Paralympics. And I said, okay. So I went out there and spent 3 weeks, came back, got sponsored, Fila picked me up, and then they told me I could not go into the 94 Olympics, because I started training in 93. So I could not go to the 94 Olympics, because every 4 years is the Olympics, every 2 is the Pan Am Games. The World Games, I'm sorry. And then I said, okay. So I got my mind together, talked to Roger Kingdom, and then later on in the year of my career, Charles Alley, which you already know about him, he's the fastest senior
in the world.
Yeah.
And if I can hold you up for 1 minute, because you mentioned Roger Kingdom, and we know who Roger Kingdom is, but if you could just share with the listeners, Roger Kingdom.
Oh, Roger Kingdom is a 6-time gold medalist in the hurdles. He came out of Atlanta, Georgia. He went to University of Pittsburgh, and he was the fastest man in the hurdles.
Okay.
Yeah, back-to-back gold medals, which is a feat. And it doesn't get talked about a lot, for a couple different minute reasons, but for Roger Kingdom to win back-to-back gold medals in high hurdle Olympic competition clearly is a record that might stand forever and ever and ever. And almost all records are made to be broken, but to be able to repeat that back-to-back gold medals, back-to-back Olympics, given the time span between Olympics, is remarkable. But all of that said, Kevin, the reason I wanted you to put it out there is because I wanted our listeners to have a real good visual, if you will, of who we're talking to and who's sitting here. We're sitting with a guy that was shot 7 times, came above all of it, put aside the hatred, put aside the self-pity, and emerged as one of the greatest athletes in the world. When we're at events, I challenge people to close their eyes and just envision sitting in their seat, what it's like to be blind for 30 seconds, and then how you can put the necessary elements together to train, lift weights, and yada, 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 become a world champion, when obviously there are countless people that can't do it with their vision. And as a matter of fact, Kev, I pushed up on young Kev when we came in. I don't know if you had a chance to, but solid as a rock, still hitting the iron. What are you, 6'4"? What do you weigh, Kev?
6'4", 255 pounds.
So you took that same frame some years ago out of Clemson to Steeler camp, where there was a legitimate shot for you to be a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So give us a real quick brief on what happened there.
And before you do, you were at Clemson?
Yeah, it was like a 2-year institution for me, but my priorities were straight.
Okay, but the 2 years you were at Clemson were what years?
It was in 87 and 88.
87 and 88. Did you happen to play with Gary Cooper?
Cooper was there. Ford was the head coach.
Okay, so Gary Cooper out of Ambridge. The late Gary Cooper, he was a heck of a receiver, and he was actually paralyzed in a car accident and I'm not sure exactly how things went from a recovery standpoint, but I would say he passed away maybe 4 or 5 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah.
Well, what we wanted to be able to, and one of the main reasons we invited Kevin today is to give us a sense of training camp. So going back to then, Kevin, and certainly using your sense of it all now, if you were about to go to Steeler training camp next week, what would be your preparation physically, getting ready to try to make the Steeler team?
Well, basically, you're on for 6 months and off for 6 months. So the last 3 months of the year, you have to get yourself back in shape and your mind right to be able to go out there and face bigger and stronger guys than you, and get your mind right and stay in physical condition.
Now, you were in Steeler camp in 1990?
Yep.
So some of the guys you were competing against were?
Oh, it was Greg Lloyd, Hardy Nickerson, Brian Hinkle, Huey Richardson.
All right, now stop right there. Minus Huey Richardson, that's a pretty competitive crew. I mean, if you're trying to take one of the, nothing personal, Huey, if you're listening. If you're trying to take one of those spots, and I know Greg Lloyd wasn't giving up nothing.
No, Greg was a great teacher. Greg was a great mentor to me, and he told me, like he said, hey, Kev, I'm your friend now, but out here on this field, I'm not your friend.
So you go to camp, you have a shot, what happens?
And after that, because I didn't have too much, wasn't drafted. And it was like Coach Neal, he said, if you have more college experience in football, it would be like, hey, I will keep you. But Huey Richardson, 4 years straight, first draft, I understood. Said, hey, so I said thank you, and they've been my friends, and the Steelers been taking care of me ever since.
And who was the coach at that time?
Coach Neal.
Coach Neal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that being said, in hindsight, they could have kept you and let Huey go because Huey didn't do nothing while he was there, so it would have been the same difference. All right, so again, but I just want to get some conversation from you. So as an athlete, and as a world-class athlete, your preparation to make the team is certainly getting your mind. You said that about 3 times. So getting your mind straight is probably or equal to as important as getting physically straight. Is that what you're offering?
Yeah, you have to go into a zone, and your zone is preparing yourself to run the stadium steps. And that was difficult. Dale Hall took me and he said, "Come on, man, now I'm totally blind." And there was a drill we did at Three River Stadium where we run the top of Three River Stadium. You go up, across, and back down, and then up across from one end all the way around the whole stadium. And if you know in Pittsburgh, that's a circle stadium. And it was like, that's intense, because how are you gonna go up a step and you're blind? But that was a challenge I had to go through, and that's where I had to get my mind right. And the 2 days and going up to the University of Pittsburgh, so I thank them for giving me their university that I never went to train at. And they just opened up their arms for me, and Roger Kingdom came in, and he was just like, "Hey, there's a lot you got to do."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I just said, okay. So 2 days, or early in the morning practice, lifting, and then in the evening running.
Sounds good. So my first question to you is this. I know you've been tuned in to what's been, just recently there was a little bit of back and forth on the airwaves. Some reporter asked Coach Tomlin how he felt about the circus that was his team. And Coach Tomlin's response was, it was really the circus outside of our team. And you know how Coach Tomlin is. He's a no-nonsense, matter-of-fact guy. So what's your feeling about this current Steeler team? I know you follow the team real strong, and I don't know if you knew any of the guys on the current team over the last couple of years, but what's your feeling about the status of the team now and Bell and Brown being gone?
Well, I look at it this way. You had 2 guys that were great players and still are great players, but they brought a little distraction to the team. And as far as with the Steelers was peaking, they don't really need no distraction. Coach Tomlin's getting enough grief to where as though, I didn't know as of this morning, he was there 13 years, that went fast. Mm-hmm. And this guy, now that he knows what he has in the 3 dimension A is offense, dimension B is defense, and dimension C is the special teams. He knows what he have to do. If I was him, I would take my guys and huddle them up, which is the coordinators, and say, look, we got to do this different. And we're going to do it without distractions this year, and put the developed positions that they have. And Tomlin, I do believe that the Steelers can go to the Super Bowl this year and win it. Why? Because if he huddle up his group, and which is his staff, and tell them, look, let's prepare for game by game by game. And then let's just go out there and play with the people we have and put them in position. Tomlin can do very well, and he can get that monkey off his back.
Works for me. My projection for quite some time has been the Steelers have a lot to prove, and there's another old saying: if you can't say nothing about anybody good, don't say nothing at all. And my saying is, Brown and Bell are gone. That's good. And you're right. It's about no distractions. It's about getting focused. It's about this team proving to the world they did not need Antonio Brown or Le'Veon Bell. They didn't need them before when they won the Super Bowl. They don't need them now. But I'm projecting a 12-game win season, and I'm projecting a division winner, but I don't know if they have the defense to win a Super Bowl. But hold that thought, and we'll get back to it.
Well, one of the things we need to do, we've been talking about Mike Tomlin. We need to talk about if he deserves a contract extension on the other side. And we also need to talk about what is the most important position for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. We'll talk about it on the other side.
You want to see that?
No. Whenever you're ready.
Ready for segment 2? All right.
All right, Kid, a little stronger in your voice. Sound like a defensive back over there, man. You're a linebacker, man. Get into it.
Welcome back, everyone, to Soultake Champions Live. I am Kevin Cameron, sitting here in the studio, having a ball, talking football. Yes, it is. It's that time of year. My co-host, Bill Neal, and our special guest, Kevin Parker, talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, fellas, let's pick it up from the first segment. I posed a few questions before we get into Mike Tomlin's contract extension. I would like to just ask each of you, what do you feel is the most important position going into the 2019 season for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Go ahead, Kev. You take it first.
Well, first of all, when you say about a position,
Right.
I mean, these guys gonna go out there and do what they gotta do. Like I told you, 3-dimensional. And if they take the personnel that they have, and then they just gel together, as far as starting in training camp, because there's no one that's out, no one's holding out. And then once Tomlin put it all in order, what I said, the other coaches, then they put it together, and I mean, you have a good wide receiver core. You still got you got offensive line that's still intact. You got a good running game by Connor. So if he plays a game, this is his third season. He's not at Pitt no more, so he got injured last year, and he stepped up to the plate, and he runs like he's a pro. I don't see any problem.
Oh, hold up, Kev. Hold up, man. Or do you have political aspirations or anything? Because the way you answered that question, you know, you're not giving me the answer I'm looking for. We don't hedge on this show, man. So, what position?
I see the Steelers winning the Super Bowl this year. That's my position. Edward.
You have political aspirations,
so therefore,
man. I can't get a position from you. I need a position from you.
He's trying to get you. He's trying to get you to put your thumb on somebody that needs
Yeah,
work.
let's do it, man.
But let the pro do this, because you an amateur. This is what I do. Now, if we was out on the track, I'd be following you with my tongue hanging out. But this is, you just sit back and look. And I'm glad you said Connor, because we know Ben is good. Ben is good, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Okay.
You can say what you want about Ben, and some people do, but you cannot argue with his stats. And he's a first-time Hall of Famer. And I'm not a Ben hater. I've gone on record to say he's got to stop throwing them interceptions at the wrong time. There's no good time for an interception, but Lord knows in the fourth quarter with 1:12 on the clock, we don't need it then. But if Connor proves everybody wrong who thinks that he can't hold up, for those who think that Connor's injury prone, for those who think that Connor is not your everyday starting running back, he's got to prove it. The offensive line is intact. As a matter of fact, maybe one of the top 3 best offensive lines in football. Injuries aside, that remains a fact. But I think the important thing for the Steelers offensively is Connor being able to show up. You got 2 quality running backs that are vying for some of his time, and they'll be great inserts at the time. But the place that they still have to prove, offensive line intact.
And again, don't you hedge either.
I'm not about to. I'm about to give it to you real. Just like when I say, yeah, there's been some great athletes out of Aliquippa, but the greatest athletes in Western Pennsylvania come out of Penn Hills. Yeah. I'll put it to you just like that. But I'm just saying, you want me to give it to you, I'm gonna give it to you. But now, offensive line intact, defensive line reasonably intact, still needs some shoring up. Linebacker and core is going to improve greatly, but the problem that they still have, that we have to see the greatest level of improvement, is the D-backs. The defensive backfield has got to step up, show up, and do shutdown football when it's essential. So that's the position. That's the position. Defensive back.
That's respectable.
Now give Kev a chance to come back. Man. Don't leave him hanging out there. He's an Olympian. He's
not going to leave me.
He's an Olympic gold medalist.
Because
let Kev give his. Go ahead,
Kevin Parker.
Go ahead.
When you really think about it, when Hayden is back, okay, Davis is back, and those guys in the secondaries, I'm quite sure that's what I pray that Tomlin puts together. Because this new rookie we have, the linebacker, that's good. But you got to put them in position.
Kevin Bush.
You got to put them in position so that they can develop and understand the NFL. So that they can go out there and be productive for 16 weeks.
I think we could all agree to that, but what's the position? What's the position?
When you keep asking me that, what you mean?
What's the most important position for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be successful in 2019?
Coaches get together and come up with a good scheme and go out there and play against.
Okay, so
That's not a bad point, because Lord knows they've made their share
yeah,
of
but
mistakes.
okay,
Time and change, learning how to run a game for 4 quarters,
okay.
run a game right.
Hey,
What else?
So you're
Coach
saying
Tomlin, that's Kevin Parker said that. I didn't say that, Coach Tomlin. I don't
When
want
he
my
does
push
that,
past
he'll get everything in order, and he do it every game by game. Belichick
Okay,
can do it. He can do the same thing.
I said position, but we'll take the coaching. We'll take the coaching. Now, I'm going to give you mines.
Okay.
The most important position for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2019 is kicker. Chris Boswell. All right. That is the most important position for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Was that
Now,
a trick question?
no, it wasn't. It's not a trick question. I truly believe that. If you take a look at the 2018 season, we're a playoff team. If he's even half himself.
3 games.
All right. So, and he just got paid at the beginning of training camp last year. So the Pittsburgh Steelers need to get value from a proven kicker. And given everything, all the changes that occurred, losing Brown, okay, losing Bell, that's a lot of offense. Okay, so we need everyone to chip in to make up that scoring. And if we don't have a kicking game, that's going to be an issue.
Now you got birdies, you got little birdies that give you information here and there, and inside track stuff. So what's your inside track telling you about the kicking game right now? Have they done anything to make any changes?
Well, again,
Are we gonna live and die with Boswell?
They wanted to work with Boswell based on what I'm hearing, but they will have some competition for him. So he will have to earn the right to kick for the Pittsburgh Steelers again.
Well, you're right about that. And what's impressive about that is you've been wrong on so many other things that when you're right about something, it really stands
It shocks
up.
you, huh? It shocks you.
Wouldn't it be something though? Martavius Bryant is lobbying to get back in the NFL after his last suspension. Wouldn't it be? It's impossible to happen. But wouldn't it have been something if he came back to the Steelers?
Yeah, it would be nice.
And
it would be nice.
It was a bad boy, Kev.
It would be nice.
Yeah, you're shaking your head.
Yeah. It's
No.
worth a shot.
No. Y'all gotta understand something.
Huh?
You got Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
That's on his 100 game. Then you have the other wideouts. Plus, we got 2 tight ends, man. You guys are sitting here, not giving them the respect.
No.
We ain't worried about the kicker getting us. We gonna get in the end zone. Then if the kicker can't kick it that many yards, hey, that's it.
But if you think